Hey, hello. See if we can get this music started. Get this party started. We're going to have a great time. Can't believe I'm doing this now. Since the beginning of COVID, every Friday, been getting together with entrepreneurs, business leaders of all types, helping them understand the ways to be successful. What do you need to do to get there? Every once in a while, I have a special guest speaker on the show. Sometimes, I'll present, a topic that I think is important or vital for our discussion and for our opportunities. But today is going to be super, super special. Today, we're going to be talking about execution and the things that you need to remember and moving on. Today's topic is execution with style, right? We've been talking about this since probably a couple months ago. We started this series, the Execution with Style series, and we're going to continue the Execution with Style series. Last week, we talked a lot about, what execution strategy looked like and what it was all about. So if you're going to go back and check that show out, you can definitely do that. Today, we're going to talk about the skills required to execute any strategy. We're going to tell a couple stories, and we're going to get you involved with a couple of examples using the skill sets of a networker, so to speak. But these skills are going to work for anybody across the board. So don't remember I told you that here. And we're going to then get into, preparing you for next week, which is the difference between skills and tactics. And you need to understand how those things come together when it comes to your professional development of any type. The show is going to be phenomenal. We're looking forward to seeing everybody and getting all your discussions. Here's as a point of reference so that you understand, if you haven't already, subscribe to the show on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. Share this with as many people as you possibly can. It doesn't matter, what level of business or entrepreneurship they're involved in or into. This show is about professional development when it's all said and done, and helping everybody at every level raise the bar and get to the next opportunity. In fact, if you haven't already gotten your ticket for the Leverage Up Conference, which is coming up in September, you definitely want to get your ticket. I got a link in the chat, in the comment section, that I've already given for everybody. And so take your time, make sure that that that's something that you can do. It's a virtual affair. If you're looking to sponsor one of our online virtual sessions, either here at Coffee, Tea, You and Me, and one of our other programs we do several programs throughout the month and the year that will help entrepreneurs and business leaders expose their products and their services to a wider marketplace. Give them some examples of some great video reel that they can take along and use with them for all of their promotional stuff. And so this is a great opportunity for us. And this is what we do here at Coffee, Tea, You and Me. I'm Coach Powell. My job is to help business leaders move the needle, get themselves in front of the pack and really, especially small women and minority-owned businesses. That's the key to my heart, right, guys? I love working with the smaller businesses, especially those that have been established, because usually at some point they hit that wall where, I don't know what to do next. I don't know how to make this thing keep growing. I don't know how to move from just having a business, but to having a legacy. That was my what I love most, is being able to help people get there, provide that kind of service that will allow them to create something that can live well beyond them, whether you sell it or give it to your kids, or provide it to some of the younger executives, or whatever that is with your business. You need to have the power to be able to do that. That's true entrepreneurship. That's what entrepreneurship can do for your family, for your community, is create higher and higher amounts of leverage that allow you to participate in this economic opportunity that is the United States of America. So I'm so glad to be here today. So glad to present the show to you. I hope you're going to enjoy yourself. I'm going to take a little brief break, and then we're going to get right into the party. Okay, again, if you haven't already subscribed, you haven't already shared, you haven't already, thought about the questions that you might want to ask about execution of any style, definitely do that during the break. And if you can start posting the information in the chat, that'd be awesome. In fact, tell us where you are, where you're coming from, what city, how you found the show, all that kind of good stuff. We want to hear from you. We want to engage with you. We want to keep this party live and fun. Okay, everyone, this is Coach Powell. Welcome to Coach Powell Training and Development, and specifically Coffee Tea, You and Me with Coach Powell. This is the show today. We're talking about execution. And on the line of execution, we're really beginning to understand what your skills do for you. And let's think about that for a second. And I'm going to give you some examples of how skills can work out for you. But I want you to really think through when we're talking about this. And I may even read some of my some of the training manual that I've created on developing skills and what you need to do. What skills, what do they really do for you? And when you think about it, I told you a story a couple weeks ago about Jimmy, right? How he used his skills to begin to craft a meaningful reputation for himself. And there were some strategies and some core lessons that he was able to do as a result of developing these skills, right? Some of the benefits that he was able to receive was he's able to really maximize his professional relationships. Think about that for a second. Everybody wants to work with people, for people, around people who know what they're doing. And everything that you could do in your profession, no matter what your profession is, to validate, to grow, and to share your skills with your professional associations, with your peers in the industry, with anybody that you think is going to be valuable in terms of they're going to be able to appreciate those talents and those skills that you have. This is super important to have a well-designed, thought-through practice or strategy in terms of how you're going to make those things happen. Because when you can do this, you can start to build purposeful professional relationships, right? You can use your skills to create and leverage professional relationships in a way that can be valuable, not just to you, but to everybody involved, to your community, to your businesses. Super, super important thing to know about skills, right? Skills also allow you to be known as a person who can pay close attention to details, right? When you are masterful at whatever it is that you do, you have a set of skills that's going to be useful either in IT or cybersecurity or semiconductors or any of the things that are important to the forward flow of human history, the world and development of the world, right? Whatever those skills are, the more you are able to hone in on the details, the micro details of that skill set, the better you're able to demonstrate mastery. Right. So if you don't know, all the details associated with, your career, your profession, then you can't really share that information well, and you certainly won't be able to create, which is super important. Because when you reach the level of mastery, now you can create on top of what's already been invented. You can basically reinvent strategies and techniques and processes that make your business work, that make your talent shine, that help you grow your brand. All these things are important for all of your professional development, right? And we talked about the importance of in bringing your A game when you are the best of the best, always bringing your best to whatever engagement or project or product that you work on. When you're able to do that, people begin to see you and trust you at higher and higher and higher levels. And here's why this is important. The more you can be trusted by the industry leaders, by people who, or even industry adjacent, the more you're going to be able to ramp up your investment cycles, the more you're going to be able to ramp up your partnerships and leverage and collaborate with those partners, the more you're going to be able to really, really function at a high level, maybe even figure out a way to become sustainable, in whatever industry that you're in, and continuing to grow. Because my belief, by the way, if you're not continuing to grow, then you can't be sustainable, right? And I mean long term, infinitum. As long as you live and the image, the brand of you is around, right? Even after you've gone personally, physically, then there should be something that continues to elevate your legacy, right? So if you're not thinking on that level, I'm gonna suggest that you need to do that, because that's gonna, keep you motivated, keep excited to move forward in whatever business, whatever industry, whatever strategy, whatever you're doing, right? The last thing I want you to remember when it comes to benefits of really, really developing your skills and knowing what those skills are is understanding that your skills are just part of an overall, what I would consider an execution continuum, right? There's your skills, there's your tactics, there's your techniques, and then there's finally, when it comes to pulling it all together, is your strategy. And so these four concepts we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about basically more about skills, but we're going to move into later examples. We're going to move into how do you move out of the skill set that you're in into more of a tactical opportunities and positions. And then we're going to move from tactics to, techniques. How do you pull those together? And then we're going to move from techniques to strategy and how all that pulls together. And by the way, there's a continuum. You can't just jump into strategy. Because if you jump into strategy, the details that are necessary on the lower levels of those thought processes and ideas are going to crush you. And you don't want that. You want to be able to be so skilled at what you do that you don't get mired down by the details. In fact, you use the details to elevate you into higher and higher levels of planning, of procedure, of performance, and execution finally, so that you can do everything that you need to do. So when you are, and I'm going to share a couple quotes with you that I think are super important. When we talk about skill set, right? This is what we're talking about today. There's a couple different ideas that I want you to kind of embrace. And one of my favorite authors, Van Gogh, said, to understand one thing well is better than understanding many things by halves. Those that devil in the details idea and concept. When you think about it, when you can demonstrate your skills at a very, very high level, you can set proper expectations, right? Your potential can be accepted and applauded and appreciated. I did a training a couple of years ago about respect and what professional respect really was. And I realized as I was teaching and across the room to professionals from all over the world that people that had a skewed idea about what respect was. And it was based on, basically social learning, but they had no idea of what the word itself really meant and how powerful that word really is. When you respect someone, literally you adore them and or hold them in high regard. Let me repeat, when you respect someone, you adore them and or hold them in high regard. Now, I know those of you who are out there, professionals, want to be adored. You want to be respected. You want to be held in high regard, especially for those who might be clients of yours, who might be referral sources of yours, who might be investors of yours, or collaborators or partners with you. You want people that are working with you to hold you in high regard and, in fact, even adore you. And so when you're working, you have to ask yourself, or you're developing your skills, you have to ask yourself, to what end am I developing these skills? To what end do I need to improve? How do I know? Well, you know when you're getting the respect that you deserve from the people who should be respecting you, right? There should be people who respect and adore you for your skills and your talents, your abilities, what you bring to the table. Super important. I can't stress that enough. And when you have developed your skills so well then that exactly is what's going to happen. People are going to start singing your praises. They're going to start endorsing you. They're going to start giving you testimonials. They're going to start to make recommendations for you. And because the trust is going to be so high. Mortimer Adler wrote, "True freedom is impossible without a mind made free by discipline." See, developing your skills requires so much more than just you reading or taking a class. You really have to get involved and actively practice the things that you are learning to mastery. And once you've reached the level of mastery, only then can you begin to become a master yourself of whatever discipline there is, meaning you can begin to innovate and create on top of what has already been created in the skill set that you have to have, right? So think about it. A person who's never used a screwdriver, right? Simple tool, right? It's, by definition in engineering, it's a simple tool, right? It doesn't have any moving parts. There are no, it's simple as a tool that can possibly get, but it creates a tremendous amount of leverage and tremendous opportunities exist for people who know how to use them well. Now, if you're trying to hold a screwdriver by your fingertips, right, and it's not like it's a real solid big screwdriver that you might be using for carpentry, not something that you might be using for little small details in say a cell phone or watch, right? You don't hold that kind of screwdriver by your fingertips because you're not going to get the job done. If you try to hold it by your fingertips, you're not going to get enough leverage on the tool itself in order to do the work. You also have to make sure that you hold that screwdriver in a way that's not so tedious to your hand movement as you're doing it, because as you're executing the movement necessary to drive a screw into, say, a board or several boards, you can tire your hand, and you can tire out your wrist and your forearm and everything. So you have to do it in a way that's going to allow you to have some longevity in that process, right? So your skills have to be such that you recognize, and you might have to even have some training for your grip and your wrist strength and your forearm strength in order to truly drive a screwdriver, for a long period of time. And as a result, you'll get better at it as practice. You practice and rehearse, and you practice and you do it and you do it and you do it, and you're going to get better at it. You're going to get better at using the screwdriver. And then unless you've been taught some bad habits, you're probably not going to injure yourself ever from using the screwdriver. But now, if you've developed some bad habits because you've never had any formal training or any learning about this, and you've never really, really understood how to do it correctly in the first place, you're probably going to develop some bad habits, which could lead to a problem with repetitive stress, injuries, and so on and so forth. Why am I telling you this? Every skill is exactly the same. If you don't know how to do it and do it right, and you're executing it, then you could cause a lot of trauma. You can cause a lot of problems, not just to yourself, but the project that you're working on might be a failure because you and your skills weren't developed at a higher enough level or the correct level in order to really finish what your project is going to be all about. It started, right? So it doesn't do you any good just to have directions. You have to have skill to really, really put things together, to really, really make things happen. And to know what those skills are, and those skills are very, very basic. That's just one of the skills a great carpenter has to have, is how to use a screwdriver. They also have to know how to use a hammer. They also have to use various kinds of saws and planes and measuring tools. And all of these skills collectively are skills that make a great master carpenter. But if you don't have the skills, or you're missing a few of the core skills, then are you a master? You might be a master at the screwdriver, but you can't call yourself a master carpenter unless you have all the other requisite skill sets and you are continuing to work and develop on those things. I'm all about continuing improvement, right? Super, super important. Abraham Heschel says, self-respect is the root of discipline. The sense of dignity grows with the ability to say no to oneself. As you're developing your skills in whatever profession or industry that you're trying to develop your profession in, you're going to have to make some sacrifices in the training and an improvement in the development world, you're going to have to say no to some things that might be fulfilling in the moment to focus your energy and your efforts in learning and developing the skills of your trade, of your craft, of your industry. People who are not willing to make those sacrifices, go to the classes, practice, then you're doing the work. If you're not willing to make those sacrifices, then it's going to be hard for you to then elevate yourself or prove to other people that you can make things happen. That's one of the beautiful things that people all argue all the time about, going to college or earning a degree or a technical certificate or a certificate of any type, really. Why you don't need that or why you need this, that. You can argue that all day long, but the reality is when you start to prove that you can learn and improve and grow here to other people that are going to grade you and then give you a certificate, you're demonstrating that you have the capability to learn, the capability to grow. Now, all humans do have the capability, right? The problem is we all have different capabilities at different rates and different speeds and different processes of how we get to information and how we grow. And so it's important to know your learning style. It's important to be paid attention, so there might be a different way to get to your end goal of mastery in whatever professional industry that you're in. But before you rule out, going to college or get the technical degree or certificate and so on and so forth, and thinking you could just do it if somebody teaches you, be careful, because you might not be able to then prove that you've been trained or developed by an appropriate authority in the industry to then get the accolades. That's why you want to go to a credible or accredited institution or organization that can then put the rubber stamp on whatever it is you're training in or developing skills for, that they can go, okay, you've exercised the right amount of discipline. We have promoted you within the academy. You now have all the rights and the privileges therein of a graduate of the program. Whatever those rights and privileges are, you can say now claim that I've done the work, I've received the validation, I'm good, and I'm ready to go and actually practice at a higher level than someone who may not have gotten all that. And I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. I'm not saying that everybody's got to go to college, but I am saying that whatever required validation of your skill set you need to get that. And that's always going to require a third party involvement of some type. You're not just going to, I know that there are people who are just born with certain talents and skills, and you develop them innately, or you develop them over your social networks over time. And that's true. But without someone going, yes, I'm going to bless you, I'm going to go ahead and see you, I'm going to go ahead and elevate you, it's super, super important that, you could be the gifted person out there, but if nobody knows it, then what? What can we do with it, right? The right people, in fact, have to know about your talents and your skills. The last quote I'm going to read to you, then we're going to get into some real skill set development. John MacArthur said, why is discipline important? Discipline teaches us to operate by principle rather than desire. Saying no to our impulses, even the ones that are not inherently sinful, puts us in control of our appetites rather than vice versa. It deposes our lust and permits truth, virtue, and integrity to rule our minds instead. That's what skill building to me is all about. Being able to use your skills for good, for the foreflow of human history, for development of your mind and the mind and the skills of others. If you're about that virtuous work, if you're about that work that has a mission and a meaning and a purpose, and you're passionate about how you deliver and share that work with others, that passion itself is going to be infectious, and people are going to be more disciplined. They're going to take a more rigorous approach to what they're doing. And if you understand not just what you're doing, but understand the people that you are working with or working for, then you're going to grow phenomenally well. And you're going to be satisfied. That's the most important thing. You're going to be satisfied. Now, when it comes to networking, everybody thinks that networking is something that you can just do, right? You just jump in and shake some hands and smile at some people and wink, and then all of a sudden the sky's going to crack open, the world's going to work well, and everything is going to work out. And for some people, quite frankly, that has worked for them so far. Just their personality alone has driven amazing results. But I will tell you, a person who's networking from personality alone isn't going to do as well as a person who's networking from a solid skill set. Now, there are more than the 13 skills that I'm going to share with you today in terms of being a masterful networker. And I don't have time to explore them all, but I'm going to share with you basically the list of the 13, I would say, skills. And I'm going to say these skills because they're core to your ability to network function, right? These are core skills that if you get these core skills down, then you're going to be an awesome networker. And now you have to learn how to put them together and when to deploy them. That's getting into tactical ideas, which we'll get into next week, to really make things work. But just understanding what these core skills are and what they're all about can be tremendously helpful. And I share with them to let you know that in every industry, in every thing you're doing, there might be several skills that you need to master in order to claim mastery of the thing itself, right? And so here's one for networking. Number one, dress the part. Knowing how to present yourself, knowing how you look, knowing how people initially perceive you from a professional point of view, or any point of view that you want them to perceive you at, right, is how you dress, how you show up, how you enter the room before you even speak. Just visually, what do people see when you show up? Do they see someone who is well manicured? Do they see someone who is professionally dressed or dressed for their profession? Do you see someone who is disheveled and just not really put any thought into how they show up, right? There's a difference, right? When you dress the part, it means something. It means people can take you seriously. They can see that you're not a problem. You might even be an asset to the moment, or even if it's online or video. So you're dressed in the part is really important. Learning how to engage in introductory conversation, right? I don't call it small talk. Some people do. I think it's big talk because I have a process that I get to what's valuable to talk to people immediately. But learning how to have introductory conversations, and start to engage with people immediately is a super important skill. And it requires a lot of sub skills in that, to do it really well. But if you don't know how to tell a great story, it's going to be hard for you to really have. And there are several techniques and tactics to telling a great story that you have to know, right, in order to begin to engage in conversation. And conversation is not just I'm speaking. It's I'm listening, I'm hearing, I'm responding. And there's a back and forth. There's some emotional intelligence that's involved with having a meaningful, decent conversation with another human being. You have to be able to do that, specifically within your industry or within places where you think there might be potential investors or supporters of any type. Right? You have to know how to have the right kinds of introductory conversations. Number three, you have to be able to present yourself very well. Now, this is beyond the conversation, right? This is about sharing your ideas in the right way at the right time with the right people, right? When you can do this way, those first three things, right? Do dress the part, have introductory conversations, present yourself very well. When you have the spotlight and it's on you and you can present yourself exceptionally well so that you have the acceptance of people in the room, not everybody is going to be feeling you, what you're bringing to the table. You're going to have to be very careful about that because a lot of times people go to a room and they think that everybody should love me. If one person doesn't really fall for me or doesn't really give me the feedback I need, then it's all over. That is not true. You need to be talking to the people who are relevant to you, people who that are meaningful to your opportunities and what you bring to the table, not just the critics. So you can't win over all the critics because they like to criticize. That's their job. That's what they do. That's what they're exceptionally good at. That's their talent, is they criticize. And so, be careful. Make sure you're getting the right kinds of feedback from people, and learn how to present yourself really well. Helps you really understand that. If you're not getting feedback, then you're not presenting yourself well. you're not getting the appropriate feedback. It's not validating you. You got to do it better. You got to go back and dig deeper and get that skill together, right? Number 4, making and keeping promises. I can't tell you how relevant this is. There's nothing that builds trust and connection faster than your ability to make a promise that someone is going to be excited and in love, and then keeping that promise and honoring that commitment. There's several techniques to doing this at a small level so that you get to do this at a high level. But if you don't learn how to do this at a small level, you try to continue to do this at a high level, you're going to do yourself a disservice. So, take whatever course you have to take, or do whatever work you have to do within your skill set. But you have to be able to make promises. You got to be able to make promises. You got to be able to keep promises. Now, a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to set any expectations. If you don't want to set any expectations, then you're not going to get higher levels of commitment and acceptance from people. You're not going to get it. And that's kind of how people are hardwired. So, take advantage of the basic hardwiring that we all have. Make and keep promises. Learn how to do that at exceptionally high level. Right. Number 5, creating great content. Today is so important that you are not just a consumer of content, but that you are a creator of content. Today's social media world is such a content-driven connection opportunity, right? So you have to be able to bring something, even if you're sharing something that someone else has created and putting your own spin on it in some way, shape, or form. It's important to know how to do that really well, because you don't have to have all the great ideas if you can share the great ideas correctly. And so knowing how to do that, knowing how to create content, knowing how to share on social media, learn how to be resourceful or encouraging and engaging, I can't tell you how important that is. It's super important to your skill set in terms of developing mastery and the networking level, right? You have to be able to do that. Number 6, master the phone time. If you can't get on the phone and talk to people, back to, right, making conversation. If you can't just get on the phone and talk to people, make it fun, make it lively, make it interesting for them, then why waste your time or their time? Most importantly, why waste their time with you on the phone and you don't know what you're doing, what you're saying, why you're saying what you're saying, and what's important and valuable about what you're saying. You got to be able to do that exceptionally well. That's a skill. That's number 6. Number 7, learning how to get connected on social media, specifically learning how to build actual connection with people, where there's an expectation of something next, something more, something better, something bigger. When you can set those expectations and you're connecting with people, then you're well on your way to becoming a master networker. But when you cannot, when you just, you're a one-trick pony, right? You've done what you need to do. You've said what you need to say. You don't have anything else, kind of prepared or queued up or thought through that you might elevate the conversation to the next level. Then there's no reason to follow up. There's no reason for people to even talk to you again, because you said all the things that there is to say that they might find interesting, and they're pretty much done with you. There's no relationship there, right? Number 8, identifying great partners. Speaking of relationships, if you don't know who you should be in relationship with, you have to start there. Who should be falling in love with you? And if they did, what would be the benefit to you and to them? You have to be able to know how to identify the right people who should be supporting you. If you got a great idea or great book or whatever, and Oprah isn't in love with it, why not? Why aren't you hunting her down and her people down and saying, I got a great book that people are going to love. And I know you love books, Oprah. And I know when you support books, people all of a sudden, their lives will change. There were so many people that we got introduced to in the world because Oprah introduced us. If you got something that's great, that's world changing, that's important, don't you think Oprah should meet you? She should be on your list of people that you've identified that might make great partners for you. Think about it. Who could be a great partner for you? And why naturally would it fit for them? And begin to craft your strategy and your methodology in a way that's going to help them see you in the proper and correct context, so they know how to use and develop whatever you have to do. Along with that, number 8, which is identifying the partners. Now that you've identified it, number 9, you have to be able to attract them. It does you no good to identify the right people and have no way of attracting them to you. helping, with the right marketing strategy or the right language and the right colors and the right branding and the right everything, right, is what attracts people. It doesn't do you any good not to be seen, heard, or understood by the right people. You have to do this. And there's a skill set to this. It's not just I put together the right graphics, or I put together the right website, or I put together the right marketing strategy. No, it's much more than that. Because just because you put it together doesn't mean anybody sees it, or even the right people see it. I could put a billboard out on 66 that lets everybody know how wonderfully, how talented, I am, with an image of me, but I don't want to work with all those people. And so why would I use that medium as a tool? Because I'm going to be attracting people that I don't want to attract. Now, by the way, there's no way to avoid attracting people that you literally don't want to attract in your marketing program. There's no way to avoid it. It's going to happen. And so what you have to have is some type of strategy to weed out the people that you've attracted mistakenly, right? Because there's some people who, you're not quite sure meet the criteria that you need to have met in order to work with you. And that leads you to what? You got to have a criteria in your attraction modeling, right? What is the criteria for people to get through the funnel and get through to you, where it's the right time and the right space to actually do whatever it is you need to do next? That might be engage you in business. That might be join your business council. That might be a part of, your success in some other way, shape, or form by investing in you or supporting you in some way, and vice versa, right? These are people that you want to work with. You want to be in the game with, and you don't want to attract the people who basically are not ready to play at the level that you're ready to play, right? Number 10. Delivering on your brand. Once you've identified great partners, once you've attracted those mavens in your industry, the people around you that can really support you, you have to now deliver on your brand. That's back to making commitments, right? That's back to, making promises and delivering on those promises. Your brand, what your brand promises, the benefits that your brand promises, whatever that brand is, are something now that you get to drive. And you get to make sure the people that you hope to receive those benefits are receiving them. And the only way for you to know that is to seek feedback, right? Is to attract them in the first place, is to get moving, make commitments, all that kind of good stuff, and then seek feedback. That's how you know that you're actually delivering on your brand. If you're not getting the feedback, then you think that you're doing well with your brand, you're just making assumptions, and you're not getting until you're getting testimonials written. Testimonials or verbal or non or video files or provable, tangible evidence that you're amazing, right? Testimonials, referrals, recommendations, endorsements. You're not getting those things, and you can't share those things that you can share with other people. Then again, are you delivering your brand? You don't know. It's a guess. Now, somebody might tell you I'll call you up and say, you did a great job, Marvin. It's perfect, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to ask them, listen, would you mind writing that down for me? Would you mind giving me a testimonial, a recommendation, an endorsement? And who do we need to put this in front of that you know? Take it to the next level. Deliver. Know that you are delivering. Know that and share what your brand is with other people, right? Number 11, securing commitments. By the way, none of it works if you can't get people to say yes. You need to be able to get people to say yes to working with you, to fulfilling their needs through you, to understanding how best to utilize your talents and gifts on behalf of them, their community, their organization, their business, or whatever. If you can't secure the commitment, then you're really lost. Number 12, and I love number 12, ask for what you want. Along with being able to secure the commitment to do something, you have to be able to ask. You have to be able to make the proposal. You have to be able to say, listen, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. Right? This is the exchange. Right? This is the possibility where the actual leverage, the benefits are actually being shared and understood, right? With everybody involved. If you don't ask for what you want, you're just not going to get it. By the way, I should change this to ask what you want from the people that you want it from. Because you don't want, again, everybody. You can't have everybody. You don't want everybody. You want the right people, the right somebodies. there's a quote, I can't even remember where I got it from. One of my professional trainers once said with me, everybody wants to be a meaningful, significant, relevant person, right? Everybody wants to be a meaningful, specific. Nobody wants to be a wandering generality. That was Zig Ziglar, as a matter of fact. And it's super important, right? If you find that a person doesn't meet your criteria or doesn't meet your abilities or your thoughts about what you need from them, they can't do it. They can't bring it to the table. Either they don't need you, they don't want you, they can't afford you, right? If they can't do this for you, if you can't be there, then you're not going to be able to be there for them in a way that's going to be useful to both of you. And so you have to have a criteria. You have to know what you want, and you have to know if the people that you want it from have the ability to make it happen. And then that's something that you can negotiate over. But if you don't, if you already know, you're trying to get a toddler to drive a rocket ship, why? They can't do it. They can't even reach the pedals or the buttons. And if they did, they wouldn't know what to do with it. You understand what I'm saying? Make sure that you bring the right people to the table with you. Ask her what you want, because they're going to enjoy working with you a lot better than people who can't. Making a proposition to people who can't help you fulfill it, it's just a ridiculous waste of time, and it's stressful and it hurts. Bad salespeople do this all the time. Number 13, creating lucrative engagements. This is the last and final. When you are able to deliver on your brand, identify the partners, attract the mavens, secure the commitments, ask them what you want, now you have the recipe for creating lucrative engagements, right? With anybody and everybody who you work with, they're going to feel like the benefit of all of it was theirs. Now, yes, you benefited as well, but they're going to feel like they really, really benefited. They're going to take that personally, that they benefited. But if you don't are able to do all the things I said you do, really, you're not going to be able to do this well either. You're not going to be able to prove that you're offering meaningful, relevant, valuable, insightful opportunities to people. So you have to learn how to do that. And again, that's a skill. There are 13 skills to becoming a master networker. I'm sure there are many skills, as many of those to do whatever industry you want to think about doing. But if you're going to really learn this networking thing and really use it, then you need all 13 of these skills in your toolbox. And if you don't know how to deploy them or work with them, then guess what? You're not going to be good at it. You're not going to be good at it, and you're not going to be accepted for it. I hope that you guys who have been paying attention got a lot out of what we had to say today. Obviously, there are a lot of you out there. I see Miss Tanisha's out there. Thank you so very much, Tanisha, for hanging in there and for sharing. And Nancy's out there. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so good that you are here. And Tanisha asked me to repeat some of these, so I'm gonna go and repeat all the 13, and then I'm gonna close this down today. 1, dress the part. 2, do introductory conversations. Be really good at that. Number 3, present yourself exceptionally well. Number 4, make and keep promises always. Number 5, create great content. Number 6, master the phone time. Number 7, get connected, especially on social media, with the people, the right people. Number 8, identify great partners for yourself. Do that work. Do your marketing work ahead of time. Find out who should be falling in love with you. Number 9, attract mavens. Number 10, deliver your brand. Number 11, secure the commitments for people that you need to be working with. Number 12, ask for what you want. And number 13, create lucrative engagements. If you can do all 13 of those skills exceptionally well, you don't need to talk to me. But if you can't, if you think you might be slipping on any of those skills, guess what? I'm a phone call away. All you gotta do is look on the screen and hunt me down. I promise you, you ask me a direct question, I'm gonna delight in giving you that answer. So you can text me, you can call me, we can talk about it, the skills that you need to become a more masterful networker. And here's what's in the balance of this. When you become a great networker, it's like you're a master of the universe. You know how to relate to people, people know how to relate to you, you know how to get people to do what you need them to do, and you need to do what you need to do. You get to do what you need to do, what you're good at doing for people. And that helps elevate your life in a way that I can't even describe. When you are, the best description is, some of you may have experienced this, or we call mojo. And Michelle, I get this name mixed up. Michelle McShipmehigh, a famous professor, wrote this about flow state. What do you do when you get into an emotional flow state? When you're doing something at a high level, you're enjoying it so much and it's happening so well for you that you can just do it forever. You seem to have boundless energy and your focus is dialed in, right? We all want to be in flow state for what we're doing in our lives because that's how we know that we're satisfied. We're happy. We're enjoying it. It's rapturous. You want to be in flow state as much as possible. But in order to do that, you got to be doing the thing you love with the people who love you for doing it. And that's what this networking thing is all about, helping you figure out how to identify those people, get in the game and play at the highest level possible for yourself, and then codify it so that you can now use it as a tool to help you grow and do whatever you need to do for your life and your business. I hope this is beneficial to you guys. I know I loved having the time to speak with you. I'm going to speak with all of you as much as possible. Let me see. I got one thing I want to show. Nancy posted this. Some of my criteria for weeding out people include shared ethical standards, intellectual honesty, compassion, understanding of either, as well as an evaluation of skills, motivation, presentation abilities. All these things. Super important. I'm so glad you're here, Nancy. I'm so glad that Tanisha logged on. And for all of you all who, are being quiet in the background, I love you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for hanging out with me, coffee, tea with me. If you haven't gotten your leverage up tickets yet, oh my God, what are you waiting for? Let's get it done. This is going to be an amazing show, amazing opportunity for those of you all who are paying attention. The information is right on the screen. If you're following me on LinkedIn right now, you might not be able to see it all. I see you, Donnell. Oh, that's wonderful, man. So glad you're here today. This is my boy, Donnell. He's coming through today. It's good to see you guys, and I hope you guys learned a lot today. I know I had a good time. Next week, we're going to get into the tactics. We talked about skills today. Next week, we're getting into tactics. And if you don't think there's a difference between skill and tactics, you can talk to my boy, Donnell. He'll tell you, as an Army Master Sergeant in the United States Army, he's been able to help people understand the difference between having a skill and really being able to be tactically proficient, right? We'll get into it again next week. God bless you guys. I hope you had a great time. I know I did. This is Coffee Tea You and Me. It's Coach Powell signing out. Have a great weekend, guys.